It's been all Carolina baseball today. Mark Kingston was fired this morning by Coach Ray Tanner after 7 years as Carolina's baseball coach, 6 full seasons, 2 trips to the Supers, 4 trips to the NCAA tournament, 2 years where they missed it, and, of course, the COVID year. Everybody had to stop about a third of the way through the year. The news came down around 11 o'clock this morning, give or take, but we knew it was coming and that the situation was basically untenable. I don't know, Elijah. Does a super regional trip do enough? Did you need to make it to Omaha? And with the way this team pitched, that just felt like an incredible long shot. Anyway, I don't have an answer as to. Look, I think if you made it to Omaha, yeah, Mark's going to hang around.
Yeah.
Beyond,
it's a pretty significant accomplishment.
Yeah, beyond that, I don't even know that making a super regional was going to be enough. Just with some of the things that were out there. If you had been a 1 seed this year and made the Supers, then perhaps it's different. But you weren't. It unfolded the way it did, and the end of the season was damaging to the point that I think you couldn't turn back around.
I think the big kicker was the Georgia series, mostly because of the way if you're at Founders Park. And you watch the way the crowd kind of funneled out in the 8th inning. You went into that 8th inning up a couple runs, and you lost, by like 10 after that. I mean, you could have gotten run ruled if it wasn't already so late in the game.
Right. Well, they scored 10 unanswered runs on you. Yeah.
10 unanswered runs. And at that point, you could almost feel a zapping of enthusiasm to the point where it borderline turned into apathy. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing in collegiate sports, especially in 2024, where your NIL resources are directly correlated to crowdsourcing that money. Like your crowds and your fans at this point in time, since your NIL isn't under the umbrella of a fundraising arm of the university, you're basically passing around an offering plate. And when people are apathetic about the program, they don't want to put their money in that offering plate. This is now more important than ever to have that type of enthusiasm. And the first time the most glaring incident where it felt like that was kind of missing was the final 2 innings, that Georgia game at home that sealed the fate of a sweep. And you could feel it after that.
Yeah. I agree with you. We've been talking about some of the candidates, too. We'll get back on the phones in a second. Barry, coming to you in just a minute here, bud. Tom Walter at Wake Forest, Chris Pollard at Duke, Dan McDonnell at Louisville, Chris Lemonis at Mississippi State, Cliff Godwin at East Carolina. Really, one of those, if not more than one of those, is going to tell you yes, in my opinion, as long as you can meet their personal financial requirements, what they'll need for their staff, and what they'll want in enhancements to the baseball facility, the recruiting budget, et cetera. And again, it's my opinion that you have to hire someone of this ilk. And
certainly,
yeah, you can't expect to get back to what you were, and that's what the fans are basically demanding at this point now, and do it on the current budget. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's just again, you're being passed. You're being passed in this conference by schools that used to look up to you. Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia. You're going to go around the country and take a poll. And most folks are going to go, yeah, they're better right now. Now, like David Cloninger said, you're still seen as one of those historically great programs, and you should be. But with every passing year, that begins to fade a little bit more, and that's not something this school can afford. So, again, if you want to do it, I think you got to do it in a big-time way. There's no more, hey, let's see if this next hot, young up-and-comer is the guy. You've done that twice. And here you are.
You need a proven winner.
Yeah.
And I know you have Walter and Pollard as kind of 1A, 1B. I've got Walter as 1 and 1 alone. Yeah. I'm going all in. I'm putting all my chips in the middle.
That's fair.
For Walter.
That's fair.
The more I look at that resume, and the more I realize exactly what his track record is in terms of getting, like, what I think it was 50 players drafted in the top 10 rounds developed 9 top 50 draft picks, 4 first rounders at Wake Forest.
Yeah, that's fair, man.
That's a combination of recruiting and development and having an eye for talent when you don't necessarily have the biggest recruiting budget. And the guy's a program builder. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned what he did at New Orleans and being able to win at a school like New Orleans. it's not just that he won at a school at New Orleans. Let's go back to the context of when he took the job. It was in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina, where they had almost no facilities because they're underwater. Right. And he literally took them, like, this is almost a literal from the ground up program building.
Yeah.
Right. He did that. And then at George Washington, from the time you look at his first year at George Washington, which is the job he had before New Orleans, to the last year at George Washington, that's a 20-win difference.
Yeah.
He's a proven program builder.
He's a builder. Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I say about him and Pollard. They are architects of what they've done at their respective schools because there is no track record.
Yeah.
Wake Forest won the College World Series when Ike was president. and I think Duke had like a 50-year drought. They just, again, baseball was like, oh, yeah, baseball. Sure.
It was whatever at that point in time.
Go sports.
And then if you have any questions about character, Coach Walter in 2011 donated his kidney to a player who hadn't even played one pitch at Wake Forest, but had a serious procedure in which he needed a kidney to save his life, and he gave him his kidney. I'd like my kid to play for Tom Walter. If I ever had a kid that's playing college baseball and Tom Walter tells me that story, you go play for that guy because he's going to have your best interests in
amen, man. No, I think you make him tell you no first.
Absolutely. That's my first
I don't disagree.